Before we dive into this incredible story, make sure you're part of our journey. Hit that subscribe button, turn on notifications, and get ready for a story that will leave you thinking. And if you love inspiring tales, a like goes a long way. His knuckles turned white on the bridge railing, each raindrop another reason to jump. 16 cars had passed without slowing. Even the police cruiser hadn't stopped, its red and blue lights casting momentary shadows before disappearing into the night, like everyone else in his life. The storm amplified his isolation. Rain pounded the metal bridge, water cascaded into the churning river below. His thin hoodie clung to his trembling frame, soaked through to skin nobody had touched in months. A car approached, slowing this time. He closed his eyes, not wanting to see another person pretend he didn't exist. The car door opened, then closed with a soft thud. Footsteps approached unhurriedly despite the downpour. "Terrible night to be out here alone," a voice said. The boy opened his eyes, turning to find a bearded man in a black coat, rain dripping from his hair. Recognition dawned slowly through his tears. It couldn't be him, but it was. If this moment made you feel something, imagine what's coming next. Hit that like button and stay with us. Subscribe now. Time seemed suspended as the boy stared, rain mixing with tears on his face. He'd come to the bridge to disappear, not to meet Keanu Reeves. The absurdity almost made him laugh, a bitter, hollow sound that caught in his throat. The river raged 30 feet below, indifferent to celebrity encounters. "I'm Jason," the young man finally said, voice barely audible above the storm. His fingers still gripped the railing, knuckles white with tension. He didn't ask for verification, didn't care if this was really who it appeared to be. Names meant nothing when you'd already said goodbye to existence. Keanu nodded, maintaining a careful distance, close enough to reach out if needed, far enough to avoid crowding the fragile space. "Mind if I stand here a while?" he asked, as if they were simply two strangers sharing a view rather than balanced on life's edge. Rain continued to pour, soaking them both in nature's cold indifference. A car drove past, slowing momentarily. The occupants peered through rain-streaked windows, more interested in the celebrity they half-recognized than the crisis unfolding. Someone held up a phone before speeding away, leaving them in darkness again. Jason noticed how Keanu positioned himself between the traffic and Jason's visibility, a subtle shield from voyeuristic eyes. "They didn't even see me," Jason murmured, a lifetime of invisibility confirmed in one passing car. "Not until you showed up." His laugh was bitter, fingers loosening slightly on the railing. "Even now, it's not me they care about." Keanu turned to face the river rather than Jason, offering privacy and proximity. "People see what they're looking for," he said, voice steady against the storm's percussion. "Doesn't mean you're not worth seeing." Another vehicle approached, this one slowing more deliberately. A second police cruiser, perhaps alerted by the first, or by someone who'd recognized the actor. Keanu's expression tightened almost imperceptibly. The cruiser stopped, its lights cutting through the downpour. The officer remained inside, radio crackling. Jason tensed, knuckles whitening again on the railing. "I'm not going to some hospital where they pretend to care for 72 hours, he whispered fiercely. "I can't." "I understand," Keanu said, and something in his voice suggested he truly did. The rain had plastered his hair to his forehead, transforming the familiar movie star into something more human, more present. "What if we just talk for a bit? No hospitals, just two people in a storm." Jason's eyes darted between Keanu, the police car, and the churning water below. His options were narrowing with each passing moment. The choice wasn't just between life and death anymore, but between different kinds of surrender. The officer opened his car door but remained seated watching. A small crowd had begun to gather on the far side of the bridge, phones raised despite the rain. Someone shouted Keanu's name. "They're making this into a show," Jason said, despair edging his words. "My life is falling apart, and they want selfies. Things are about to take a turn. Don't miss what happens next. Subscribe, like our video, and keep watching." Keanu stepped closer to the railing, creating a barrier between Jason and the growing audience. "Look at the water," he said quietly. "Not at them." His presence commanded attention, yet his focus remained entirely on the young man beside him. The officer had exited his vehicle now, approaching cautiously, hand resting near his holster, as if this were a crime scene rather than a human crisis. "Sir, I need you to step away from the edge," the officer called, voice professionally detached. He was addressing Jason but looking at Keanu, recognition and confusion battling in his expression. The small crowd across the bridge had doubled, their phones glowing like fireflies in the darkness. "Give us a minute," Keanu replied, tone respectful but firm. He didn't turn away from Jason, didn't break their fragile connection. "What brought you here tonight?" he asked, as if they were alone, as if the growing spectacle weren't unfolding around them. Jason's laugh was hollow. "Everything. Nothing." His voice dropped to a whisper. "My dad died last month. Cancer. Mom's barely functioning. Lost our house. College dropped me when I couldn't pay. My girlfriend—" He trailed off, tears indistinguishable from the rain on his face. "Nobody sees me. I'm just disappearing already. Figured I'd finish the job." The officer had stopped advancing but spoke into his radio. More lights appeared in the distance, additional units responding. The crowd's murmurs grew despite the downpour, the unmistakable energy of spectacle building. Someone shouted, "Is that John Wick?" The shout rippled through the crowd, transforming the moment from crisis to entertainment. Phones lifted higher, flashlights activated for better recording. The officer squared his shoulders, the situation escalating beyond his control. 2 more patrol cars arrived, lights painting the rain-slicked bridge in rhythmic red and blue. "I see you," Keanu said, his voice barely audible above the storm and commotion. "Not the character they're shouting about. You. Jason." He moved slightly, positioning himself more directly between Jason and the growing audience. "I lost my best friend to suicide when I was young. River Phoenix. I've lost people I loved to cancer. My sister battled leukemia for years." Jason turned to look at him fully for the first time, surprised by this quiet sharing of personal pain. The rain continued to pour, but something in the atmosphere between them had shifted. "The cameras never show the aftermath," Keanu continued. "The empty spaces, the questions that never get answered." He gestured subtly toward the crowd. "They see a scene from a movie. I see someone fighting to survive. That takes more courage than jumping." A news van had arrived now, its bright lights sweeping across the bridge. The police had established a perimeter, holding the spectators back but unable to prevent the documentation of this intensely private moment. An officer with a bullhorn requested that people disperse, his words lost in the combination of rain, traffic, and excited chatter. "They're turning this into a circus," Jason said, his voice cracking. "If I step back now, I'll be forever known as the kid Keanu Reeves saved. If I jump, I'll be the one he couldn't save. Either way, it's not about me anymore." His fingers flexed on the rail, the decision still balancing on a knife's edge. Keanu nodded, understanding the impossible position. "What if there's a third option?" He spoke softly, for Jason alone. Not a dramatic rescue, not a tragedy. just two people walking away from a bad moment. A police negotiator had arrived, conferring with the first officer while eyeing them cautiously. The crowd had swelled despite the worsening storm, the news crew setting up equipment under hastily deployed umbrellas. Someone had recognized Jason from high school and was giving an impromptu interview pointing toward the bridge. "My mother will see this," Jason realized, horror dawning on his rain-streaked face. "She'll watch me die or be saved, over and over on the internet. Forever." The thought seemed to anchor him more firmly to the railing, paralyzed by the public nature of his most private despair. Keanu's eyes scanned the scene, assessing options with the focus of a man who had navigated public scrutiny for decades. "Listen to me," he said, voice low but intense. "There's a service door beneath the bridge maintenance platform. Leads to stairs inside the support structure. Maintenance crews use it." He gestured subtly downstream. "We can disappear. Not forever. Just from this moment they're trying to create around us. This story is only getting deeper. What would you do in this situation? Comment below, and let's talk." Jason's eyes widened slightly, hope flickering for the first time. "They'll follow us," he whispered, but his grip had loosened, his body angling imperceptibly away from the edge. "Some will try," Keanu acknowledged, "but they're expecting drama, a rescue, or a tragedy. They're not prepared for something quiet." He glanced toward the maintenance access point, calculating. "I need to know you want this, to walk away, to try tomorrow instead." The negotiator was approaching now, hands visible, voice practiced in its careful calm. "Gentlemen, let's work together to resolve this safely." His eyes darted between them, professional assessment underway. Behind him, the first officer was directing newly arrived backup to control the perimeter. The crowd had grown despite the deluge, excitement palpable even through the rain. Jason took a shuddering breath. "I don't know if I can face tomorrow," he admitted, voice breaking. "Everything's still gone. Nothing changes if I walk away." "Not everything," Keanu said. "I see you now. I'll still see you tomorrow." He extended his hand, palm up, rain collecting in the lines of his skin, one step at a time, just back from this edge first. The negotiator had stopped several feet away, recognizing the critical moment unfolding. The news cameras zoomed in, capturing the tableau, the famous actor and the unknown young man, hands extended across the void between life and death. Jason's hand trembled as it lifted from the railing, hovering in the space between them. The crowd collectively held its breath, the moment suspended in the rain-filled air. Even the negotiator had frozen, understanding that intervention now could shatter everything. "I don't want to be a headline," Jason said, tears streaming freely now. "I don't want my mom to see me like this. I don't want to be the kid who almost jumped, or the kid who jumped, or—" His voice broke completely. "You're Jason," Keanu said simply, hand still extended, rain soaking them both. "Who loved his father, who worries about his mother, who's carrying too much alone." His voice remained steady, a counterpoint to the chaos surrounding them. "That's who I see." With a barely perceptible nod, Jason placed his hand in Keanu's. There was no dramatic pull, no Hollywood rescue moment, just two hands connecting, a silent agreement to step back from the edge. The crowd erupted in cheers and applause, the spectacle they craved seemingly delivered. But as the negotiator moved forward with visible relief, Keanu leaned closer to Jason. "Now we disappear," he murmured. With subtle movements, he guided Jason along the railing, angling toward the maintenance access point. The negotiator, sensing their intention, hesitated in confusion. The news cameras followed their movement, but the angle was poor, the rain limiting visibility. Most of the crowd remained fixed at their original position, expecting a conventional resolution. The triumphant walk back to solid ground, the emergency services intervention, the carefully managed crisis conclusion. Instead, they reached the maintenance door. Unremarkable, utility gray, nearly invisible against the bridge structure. Keanu produced a small multi-tool from his pocket, manipulated something in the lock mechanism, and the door yielded with a click barely audible above the storm. In the moment of confusion that followed, they slipped through the opening and pulled it closed behind them. Inside was darkness. The sound of the rain transformed to hollow metallic echoes. Jason's breathing came in ragged gasps, adrenaline and emotion overwhelming now that they'd escaped immediate view. Emergency lights cast minimal illumination through the bridge's interior skeleton. "They'll come looking," Jason whispered, panic edging his voice as reality reasserted itself. "I'll still be the spectacle. Nothing's changed." "Not a spectacle. A person," Keanu corrected gently. He guided them down a narrow maintenance ladder, each step taking them further from the cameras and spectators. "And something has changed. You're here. Breathing. Choosing." Outside, confusion had erupted. The negotiator was calling for them, his professional composure cracking. Officers converged on the maintenance door, radios crackling with urgent communications. The crowd surged against the police line, straining to understand what had happened to their entertainment. Within the bridge's steel ribcage, Jason and Keanu descended in near darkness, the actor's phone flashlight illuminating just enough for safety. "My car's on the south side," Keanu said quietly. "We'll emerge away from the cameras. I know people who can help, really help, not just for show, when you're ready. It's not over yet. The best part is coming. Make sure you're subscribed so you don't miss it." Three hours later, Jason sat wrapped in a blanket in the corner of a quiet diner 20 miles from the bridge. The place was nearly empty at this late hour. Just a few truckers and night shift workers scattered among the booths. No one recognized the sodden movie star in worn jeans and a borrowed flannel shirt, his trademark hair hidden under a plain cap. "Your mom knows you're safe," Keanu said, sliding a mug of hot chocolate across the table. "The counselor is speaking with her now. No details about the bridge, just that you're okay and will call in the morning." Jason nodded, hands curling around the warm ceramic. The trembling had mostly subsided, but exhaustion had settled into his bones. "Thank you," he said simply, the words inadequate for what had transpired. On a muted TV above the counter, a news report showed footage of the bridge, police lights still flashing through the rain. The caption read, "Search continues after Keanu Reeves and suicidal fan disappear." A statement from the LAPD scrolled across the bottom. "We urge Mr. Reeves to contact authorities immediately regarding the welfare of the individual in question." Keanu glanced at the screen and smiled faintly. "They're telling the wrong story," he said, turning back to Jason. "They want drama, rescue, or tragedy. They don't understand the courage it takes to simply continue." "Will you get in trouble?" Jason asked, suddenly worried about the implications for the man who had saved him not once, but twice. First from the edge, then from the spectacle. "Nothing I can't handle," Keanu assured him, stirring his coffee. "My lawyer will contact them in the morning, confirm your safety while protecting your privacy. The news cycle will move on." He paused, considering his next words carefully. "The program I mentioned. It's good. Real support, not just crisis management. Housing assistance too. No cameras, no publicity." Outside, rain continued to fall, gentler now. The waitress refilled their cups without comment, her tired eyes showing no recognition, just the simple acknowledgement of two humans seeking warmth and shelter in the middle of the night. Why did you stop? Jason finally asked the question that had been hovering between them. Out of all the people who drove past, why you? Keanu considered the question, his expression thoughtful. I saw you, he said simply. Not just a shape on a bridge. You. He cradled his mug between his hands. We're trained not to see each other's pain, to look away, drive past, pretend we don't notice. It's easier. Jason nodded slowly, understanding flooding through the exhaustion. Everyone looked away, even the first cop. Being seen is a human right, Keanu said, voice soft but conviction absolute. Sometimes that's all it takes. One person who truly sees you. Dawn was breaking outside the diner windows, gray light seeping through the rain clouds. Jason's phone buzzed with a text from his mother. No questions, just love and relief. The TV had moved on to sports highlights, the bridge incident already fading from the news cycle. What happens now? Jason asked. The future still uncertain, but no longer impossible. Now you rest, Keanu replied. Tomorrow you take one step, then another. He smiled, the gentle expression that had won over audiences for decades now directed at an audience of one. And you remember that being invisible sometimes is a choice, but so is being seen. Jason nodded, something like hope warming his chest for the first time in months. Outside, the rain had finally stopped, and weak sunlight began to break through the clouds. Wow, what a story! If this moved you, imagine what else we have for you. Hit that like button, drop a comment, and let us know what you think.